Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. It's a special meeting today for a special budget workshop meeting, and it is 5:00 p.m. And I will ask if Madam City Clerk will do a roll call.
Mayor Robertson,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Andy Caracellos,
Present.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Present.
Councilmember Baca,
Present.
Councilmember Scott,
Present.
City Treasurer Edward Correa,
Present.
and City Attorney Eric Vell,
Present.
Interim City Manager Henry Garcia.
Present.
Okay. And with that, I would ask if you guys could stand, if you don't mind, and join our city treasurer, Edward Carrillo, in leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please.
With your heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Treasurer. They did not post an invocation on here, so we are going into a special workshop this afternoon, a budget workshop, and I'm going to turn it over to our interim city manager to do the introductions and lead us into it.
Good evening or good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. Tonight's intent is to introduce the 23-24 fiscal budget four-year review. There are some additional comments that I'd like to open with to set the tone for the budget philosophy that was taken into consideration as the staff put together the budget. And so some of my initial thoughts to share with you is that the budget has been a very conservative approach in these economic times. And to be more specific, I have noticed that in particular, that there's been a housing start slowdown, or that a decline in housing in terms of building. In addition to that, we are all aware that interest rates have begun to rise. That, coupled with our observations of recent bank failures, have created some concern about lending, loans, and cash availability. In addition to that, we are still seeing and experiencing in our ports occasional work stoppages which hinder where we think some of our supply chains are coming from in addition to where they're going. Why is that a particular item of interest to all of us? Because where it hits our Rialto citizens the hardest is an increase in the definition of inflation when it comes to gasoline, foods, and the necessary kinds of items that families need to keep their homes vibrant and moving forward in a secure fashion. Those sources of observation that I am referring to have two particular data sources that I'd like to share with you. And that is, I had an opportunity to review the Inland Empire Economic Partnership's Chief Economist Manfred Keel's report. And so the specific data when I'm referring to the Inland Empire is a result of the Chief Economist's review of the Inland Empire and is prefaced by the comments that I've just made. In addition to that, California Matters is also a source in which the budget was built around, which is one of being conservative, but yet optimistic in terms of trying to meet all the council members' goals and objectives. And while there could be particular differences in how the economy is viewed in the Inland Empire, the single most driver of this particular budget is the GAN initiative limit, which creates the seal on our expenditures. And having taken into consideration the comments, Mayor and members of the council, this budget is premised around a conservative approach. This evening, what I'd like to do, with your permission, Mayor, is hand over the conversation about how the process of this budget was put together from the Assistant City Manager. You will then see an overview from our Finance Director, and that will probably be a PowerPoint presentation. And then you will hear some brief comments from each department head to give you a flavor up or down of what I believe are just minor changes in revenues and expenditures by department. So with your permission, Mayor, I'd like to hand it over to the Assistant City Manager to discuss the process that we used to put together the budget so that there's a greater understanding of how the review process was done.
Okay, and before we go over to the Assistant City Manager, can I ask if either you, Assistant City Manager, or the Finance Director, possibly for the benefit of those who are listening or watching this, I assume this is live or it may be recorded, to speak to the GAN initiative and how it is playing a role in our structure and going forward. I believe we talked about it informally in conversations, but if you're not going to kind of talk to that, I don't know if Catherine or Aaron wants to speak to that, just so we can set, because you mentioned it, and I think it's important that people understand that we're at some thresholds that we need to deal with.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is have Aaron speak a little bit deeper to the GAN initiative for the benefit, not only as a refresher to the mayor and council, but to all the citizens who are hearing us this evening. So I think it's appropriate to do that at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you said, we are under what is called the GAN limit, or the GAN spending limit, also known as Proposition 4 from 1979. It was later updated in 1986. It is something that is of constant discussion because it really does place a limit on the allocated expenditures that any government entity within the state of California, including the state of California, can make. So what that means is we have a limit placed upon City Council as to what you can allocate. What you're going to see as we go through this budget process is an amount of expenditures based on the revenue that is limited by that GAN limit. That revenue is at approximately 86% of what HDL forecasts, but we are limited in what we can raise on that because the GAN limit gives us, and we do have the formula that is a specific slide that Catherine will go over, but what it limits us to do. The gentleman that is, cannot remember his first name, GAN, is also responsible for Prop 13 that we all know a little later than that Prop 4 discussion. Does that cover the bulk of what you're looking for, Mayor? Yeah. Okay.
No, that's fine. I just think that as we move into it, it's something that we've had to really focus on.
Absolutely.
And we talked about, so that's all I wanted to
And
just
one of the
add that.
very important aspects because of that GAN limit is you'll see the expenditures and the revenue that we lay out. There is $3.3 million remaining between what we have and what that GAN limit is, that we're really looking for direction from council as to where you want to go with that $3.3 million. Understanding anything that we allocate cuts into that 3.3, and that GAN limit is our ceiling.
Okay.
I think as Aaron starts to talk about the process, I also want to mention to the mayor and council, as well as to those watching us live, the intent tonight is not only to make the presentation, but to get your sense of vision on whether you want ups and downs in the movements you feel necessary to adjust the budget accordingly to your vision. So having said that, I want Aaron, if you would just walk through the process of how the team came together to put together this balanced budget.
So what we did is the finance director, the budget team, and I met with every single department head and any support staff they had for the budget process. And we went line item by line item through every single budget and looked at not only what they were forecasting their spend was, but a 3-year history to be able to justify that spend. And we found in some locations, the 3-year spend, every single year we were spending more in that line item, and so there were transfers at the end of the year to cover that. We adjust that. We also found even more locations or items where the 3-year spend did not show what we were forecasting, so those items were lowered. And you'll see reductions in those individuals' departments, and that's going to be, for the most part, where you'll see that is we were able to look at the 3-year spend and say, we understand this is a maybe, but we've not seen that in the past. The budget adjustments in the past, like I said, were made based on those historical trends. Every single department head was a partner in this process. There was no items that the interim city manager, myself, or the finance director said, this is the way it's going to be, we're taking this away. It was a very team-oriented approach. And that's what brought us here. When the interim city manager and mayor is ready, we could go into the general fund review and the finance director's breakdown of that.
So we'd like to go over the general fund review. It starts back in fiscal year 21-22, and in the end incorporates the projected budget that's before you. So our actual spend for 21-22 put us in the position to have an unrestricted fund balance of around 24.9 million, with a total of 81.6 million in total reserves. Rolling over to fiscal year 22-23 with the adopted budget, with the adoption, the forecast was to have unrestricted fund balance of 32.4 million and a total reserve balance of 84.2 million. Moving forward to where we are today with our amended budget for fiscal year 22-23, we're forecasted to close out with the unrestricted fund balance of 22.6 million with a total reserve balance of 74.3 million. Sorry, I said billion, 22.6 million with 74.3 million as our total reserves. And then this amount rolls over to our proposed budget that's in front of you. It is set to have us end the year of fiscal year 23-24 with an unrestricted fund balance of 22.8 million and a total reserves of 74.6. Next is diving into the projected budget. And this is just looking at the general fund revenue. Currently, our revised budget for 23 is at a revenue forecast of 136.6 million. And we are projecting, and this is taking the GAN limit under consideration and staying at that average of about 86%, the 129.4 million is our forecast for general fund revenue. Our highest revenue sources here are property tax, our sales tax, and our utility users tax. Our sales tax is about 39.2% of our revenue sources for general fund. Next is our property tax at 23.9%, and our utilities users tax at 10.9%. And I did want to note that from our revised budget to our projected, there is a 5% reduction in that revenue, but that is due to the GAN limit restriction. Next is our general fund expenses. So our projected budget, after sitting with all of the departments, is forecasted at 129.2 million. Personnel is a large portion of our budget, and that's about 66%. The personnel is about 85.3 million. And next is our services and supplies. That's at about 30%. and that is at 39.3 million. We did, after working with the departments, from our revised budget in fiscal year 22-23 to 23-24, we have about a 10% reduction, a decrease. So being very conservative with those expenses. Moving further into the all funds revenue, this is our entire budget, which includes our enterprise funds, our capital funds, capital projects funds, and our special revenue funds. So for the entire city as a whole.
Catherine,
Yes.
I don't know if we want to wait to the end or if others have questions, but
Okay.
I would like to.
I think it's free-flowing.
That's what I
Questions-
thought,
Questions
you know,
as you
rather
see
than
appropriate.
piling it all. If you have a question on any of the presentations, please ask, because I had one and I thought, let me stop you before we go to that page.
Okay.
Because when I was looking over this, especially this morning, I noticed that these are projected expenses for the next budget. And I was really kind of wanting to get some examples because I saw that our actual for others was 1.2 in 2021. And then we had nothing in those actual for 21, 22, or even a revision. But then I see we are proposing or projecting that we anticipate, if I'm getting this right, that we may have a need for 3.2 of other.
Correct.
And I wanted to ask, what is other? Because we already had personnel supplies and other items. So could you give me some examples of what you're
Examples of others.
anticipating? That we would go from actual of 1.2 to a projection of almost 3 times.
So our other expenses, that category usually houses our subsidies.
What?
Our subsidies. So these are either one-time expenses or expenses that we need to keep our LMDs running. Any subsidies for LMD, any subsidies for cemetery.
Subsidies, okay.
Yes, yes. And any one-time expenses that are forecasted in that area. But this, for 23-24, it's our subsidies.
So we didn't have any last year,
Not in the revised budget, no.
or even in the actual
Correct.
subsidies? Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
My question on that particular matter, how did they come up with the 3.2 million projected for 2023 from 1.2 million?
So what happens is the departments put in their budget for these other areas that the general fund is allowed to subsidize, and they put in their forecasted revenue, and the general fund makes up the shortfall, whatever that might be.
But when they did that, that did not include personnel, that included subsidies only, right?
Well, there are some personnel allocated to those funds. We do have, for example, in our streetlight district, there are percentages of employees that work there. And so they do become a part of that subsidy if they don't make enough revenue to cover the whole fund's expenses.
Right. Since we've had COVID, we have not filled a lot of those positions that we need in a lot of the departments, whether it's been the police department. I'll only use that as an example because I see Chief Klain over there and I happen to look over there. And in reference to personnel, in terms of what we need, does that include that aspect of it as well? And in filling some of those positions that have not been filled since then? And then also, is this projected based on any potential growth of population?
These areas, the growth in population, I would refer to the actual department when the departments come to speak about their budgets.
No, but I'm looking at numbers, and when I look at the projection of this, what we had in others, and then what we're projected, 3.2 million. How much of that will that cover, or what percentage of it will be? And does that include that personnel aspect of it?
It does include whatever personnel is allocated to those funds. And from the financial standpoint, we make sure that that fund is whole. So the actual working of the fund, the employees that are charged there, the expenses that are charged there, that is done by those particular departments. So I believe our LMDs and our streetlight districts are with maintenance and facilities. So they produce for us their budget of what their expenses are going to be, and that also includes maybe pieces of personnel. And then they produce to us their revenue estimate, and we fill in the shortfall in that fund. Mhm.
Okay.
I have a question. So I know that we've kind of talking about the pavement maintenance fee line item kind of going away. Are there any other line items that we should be worried about that were also removed in this budget?
Yes, in the general fund, it wasn't removed. It was just reallocated to the non-departmental area of the budget. So the PERS unfunded liability, our annual contribution payment, in the past, they used to charge that to the actual departments under salaries and expenses. For this budget year, we have moved it to non-departmental because it has nothing to do with the salaries and expenses for the actual payroll. And so we moved that to non-departmental, so that will show a short reduction in the departmental budgets.
And a quick clarification if I could. The pavement management fee has been removed, it is gone.
Yes.
What she's talking about is from an accounting standpoint, where that lives, but it is zero, there is no pavement management fee proposed in any way in this budget.
No, there isn't. I'm referring to a movement of an item, what used to be there and is now in another area.
Are there any other line items that we should be aware that were kind of moved around or?
That is it.
Okay, thank you.
And my budget team did tell me the other items that are in the other category are the workers' comp recovery fund. So as our workers' comp expenses go up, that number will go up as well.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a question related to the general fund revenue page. Is it possible for you to give us by Monday evening a sheet showing actual revenue in the categories of property tax, utility users tax, and sales tax from 2014 to present?
Yes, I can do it from 2014 to present.
By
yes.
year,
Yes.
okay? Thank you.
Any other questions? You know, I appreciate, you know, this is where we really get the chance to understand and the things that have changed, like you said, having put the PERS in there and now extracting it out, looking at, you know, and even we were looking at just some of the projected activities for this coming year are very, I'll say very modest, you know, very conservative. But the only reason I think others brought it was because it was no activity for 2 years, and I heard somebody, I think Councilmember Baca say, you know, we were COVID and things, so maybe the only thing is if we didn't, it's like if you didn't pay the bill, then, you know, it deferred it for 2 years, now or is it coming, the subsidies and things we need to deal with, are they, that's kind of what, and when you have other and not have, an example of what is those
The
things that we
other
have to put
was,
in
yeah.
there. Maybe in the future, we asterisk it and give us some examples of those things that we actually
Okay.
find ourselves putting in that bucket. Okay, and then the PERS transfer, so we have, go on and carry on, Catherine.
Okay. So we were on,
Something just popped out at me.
yes.
With the projection for sales tax, I get that there's all these kind of narratives right now about our economy, but, I mean, are those numbers for the sales tax, which is expected to dip slightly, is that what we're expecting based on the HDL, or?
Yes, so those numbers were from our last quarter meeting that happened the beginning of July.
Okay, because it looks like it's just a start of kind of a downturn, just slightly. on our sales tax?
Our sales tax is forecasted to still increase, but at a lower percentage. The downturn is in the amount that we can appropriate because of the GAN limit.
Okay,
So we're not referring to our 100% that HDL has given us. It's just saying the percentage that we're allowed to budget.
and the other percentage, what happens to that other portion?
That's the
That's not
funds that we bring to you at the end of the year, around September, October. And we come to you during a council meeting and let you know how much overage and revenue we received, and we discuss how you all want to use those funds.
So that number is capped with the GAN limit, is that what you're saying?
No, the
Okay.
initial appropriation is capped
Okay.
at the GAN limit, yes.
Okay, got it, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Oh, I think something happened. Oh. So we went over, I can't remember, did we touch on the all funds revenue? Oh, we started to. So this is the all funds revenue. It's the revenue for the entire city. We are at 234.9 million, and this includes every fund that the city has, every source of revenue. Our highest sources, of course, is taxes. Our next highest sources is charges for current services.
And Catherine, is that including sales and property?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
sales and property tax.
And
Yes.
utility tax, correct? Utility
Yes.
user tax.
And, okay, sales, utility, and property.
all taxes for the city.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I asked it is because too, Councilmember Trujillo's thought, wanting to figure out if we are seeing a reduction in the property taxes, which usually come about by the development of property, and then
Correct.
assessed value from that property, so.
Correct. I know the assessment rolls standardly are about a year and a half to 2 years behind. So all the development we're seeing now, we will start to see on the rolls in a year and a half, 2
Okay.
years. But yes. Let's see, what else can we document here? Well, let's move on to the expenses. We have our fiscal year 23-24, all funds expenses. So right now, for the entire city, our expenses are at 225.9 million. Our highest category for the entire city is services and supplies, which is at 93.7 million. Our next highest is personnel, which is around 88.1 million. That services and supplies is about 41.48% of our budget, and personnel is about 39% of our budget. Just to point out that our revenue source for the entire city, again, is 234.9 million, and our expenses is 225.9 million. So we are operating in a good budget. It is a surplus budget for the city. Next is a quick review of the GAN limit, and we prepared these binders, and just later on, if you wanted to read, section 23
Okay.
is all of the details on the GAN limit. But based on the state's per capita income times the change in our county population, our limit for fiscal year 24 is 101.8 million. And that limit is only on general fund spending, our tax-related spending. So our allowable increase right now, which is a different position than what we were in last year, is 3.3 million. So we are underneath our GAN limit, and we do have room of 3.3 million. Are there any questions on that information?
I don't see any at the moment, but.
Okay.
I think the messaging, Mayor and members of the council, is the GAN limit in and of itself is a restriction. but it's a significant one. And so the parameters in which your vision can move up or down is now within this $3 million
Yeah.
ceiling, for lack of a better start point.
And I think, well, we'll put Mayor Pro Tem on the spot, but I think he and I were sitting here kind of looking at the services and knowing it's consultant services. And then this page, you get it and you look and you see personnel on the chart looks like going forward is definitely lower than services and supplies. And I was saying supplies, but also consultant services. Now, that's looking at us going from where we were in 22, 23, we were relying higher. We had more personnel, and we've had some retirement, some attrition, but our consultant, if we split the services and supplies, it would be interesting to see how much of that is consultant services versus the supplies that we buy. But we still look like we're trending, maybe I'll say, in a way where we're still having more personnel doing it and then having hopefully consultants on board to do our work. So trying to find that happy balance. So I was looking at and thinking, and maybe to the point, it'd be nice to know what percentage of services and supplies, what percentage is consultant services in that number versus supplies, both are under procurement.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess my comment to the mayor was, why did those get bunched in together? Is there a specific reason why they both get into one category and not? Because that's a big number.
And my comment back to him was roughly that I know they both fall under procurement. I mean, wherever we go to get them, so, because we have either what is it, RFQ, RF something process, and it's all handled there. It's been kind of a accounting process that I've been familiar with, so.
It has been.
And
So
is there a
historically-
breakdown by department?
Yes. As we go through the department pages, every section of the department has their individual breakdowns with their amounts in the budget. Historically, they have been in the same category, and keeping that consistency is what has been done here. But the budget team this year specifically did a lot of work in reclassing consultants and making sure they were budgeted in the contract services accounts.
Okay.
So they did do a lot of work to clean that up for this budget.
Good.
So
We'll
next,
see it further in the documents, okay.
we're gonna get into our department overviews for you.
Okay.
So the first department is city council. In your binder, if you want to go to it, it's section 7.
So Mayor, as you're transitioning with the council to starting to look at incremental departments, Aaron is going to start off by taking the city council comments from you. Aaron will also do the city manager as well as the city clerk, and then as well as community development. But you'll hear from every other department head. And so with your permission, if the mayor and council are comfortable, having looked at the overview, then we'd like to proceed with the departmental reviews.
I'm fine.
Okay.
And of course, I didn't know why we had to go first, but whatever. It must be the top of the org chart.
It's the top of the org chart.
We'll go with that.
So we will jump right in, Mayor.
Go ahead.
City council has increased from the prior year by about 87,000. The bulk of that is from 2 areas. Those 2 areas are gonna be your trainings and meetings. There's again, that's based on what the historical spend has been, and when budget transfers are done at the end of the year, we're just trying to budget accurately across the board on this. Additionally, we did modify the interns. What we had budgeted prior was 5 high school interns, 5 college interns. We've made it 7 and 3, just so council has the ability to use high school or use college interns based on what they want to do and not affect the budget.
But the 7 and 3, so did we put the salary more on the 7?
That is correct.
Got it.
So
So
the
then we
college
have-
is 7, the
have
3
more
is high school.
flexibility.
And if you happen to hire additional high school instead of college, it's just budget savings.
Okay.
If there are no questions on
But
that
I
item?
think that you said, but if we happen to hire more, I thought we also had a number of only 10.
Right, what
which
I
was
mean is if
two-
you happen to hire more high school instead of,
Okay,
so if, say,
Not-
just hypothetically, you hired 10 high school instead of 5
Got
and
it.
5, it would be
yeah,
a budget
I
savings.
understand.
If there are no questions from council on that one, I can proceed to
Yes,
city manager. Okay.
a quick question there, in reference to the students, if you didn't hire and you looked at the increase from prior years of 87, how did you come up with that if some of us never even hired anybody to work for us as either high school students or college students?
This is a comparable of the budgets and not of that actual spend, because we want to make sure that the money is there if you did elect to. So say last year you decided not to hire interns and we got rid of that budget and you decide to hire this year, we would not have that budget available. So we use those numbers as if they were across the board.
Yeah, but the way it appears here, it seems like there's an increase from prior years, when in fact, we didn't have anybody, some of us didn't have anyone.
Right, so it's budget versus actual. So if you look at the revised budget was this, and then the proposed budget for this one is the new number. We would have to look at actual spend for what you're talking about.
But I think maybe the point, I don't know what Councilmember Baraka's thought is, but as I look at this, we appear to be increasing
Right.
the budget for 24, when in reality, we didn't, if you looked at the expenditure for 23, we probably didn't exhaust the 915, but yet
Agreed.
going in, because like other things, we show we show a budgeted, then later we show the actual, which is usually probably less than what we budgeted.
Right.
And now we look at what we're going, so this gives the appearance that we've expended 915.
Right.
And now we're proposing an increase in 24. So I think if we carry consistently the same pages of what happens in each department, kind of with the framework that we use in carrying this page, it would appear that you could see savings, which of course don't get rolled over, but at least you see that we budgeted 915, but to the point, we didn't all bring them on.
Correct.
Some at all, and some didn't bring on until towards the end, just like we also found ourselves with funds that we had allocated as discretion.
Right.
And some exhausted, some didn't, and then some of us, I believe Councilmember Trujillo, he didn't really exhaust his until just before we closed budget. So those it's a different picture.
Agreed.
And so, and if he hadn't done it, then in that bucket, there would have been basically a savings, because we did not have an opportunity.
Correct,
to-
and that's that money that we would come when we close out saying, council, here's that total bucket of money. What would you want to do with that? All the things that you're talking about between Councilmember Baca and the mayor, that's what makes up that total bucket. So if we allocated 10,000 hours and say you use 2,000, that 8,000 savings is going to be represented in the year-end closeout, and we come in with the additional money saying, council, here's how much either over revenue or excess revenue, or an amount that we plan to budget met the revenue, but we did not spend.
Yeah, I'm just saying that in terms of consistency or continuity to what we understand and we're seeing, I think that would be a way to look at it, because I know that we do closeout, and closeout doesn't really come until August, but we can do, it comes after the fact. As a matter of fact, we should be doing it now. We're still trying to adopt the budget.
We're a little
so-
behind on the closeout.
So, that's the thing, and it was again because of when it was allocated, but also when people were aware of it and the opportunity. So I think Councilmember Trujillo and as well as Mayor Pro Tem Carazelis brought their interns on towards the summer, the end of the summer, by the time they went through the process in personnel. So when we cut the budget, there'll be funds that weren't expended. That's, I guess, what I'm
Agreed.
saying.
It should just reflect what we actually spent and then anticipate what we're going to have to as well when when you look at this, so.
Because this says
Because we didn't
revised
spend everything.
budget.
It makes it look like we spent X amount of dollars and then now we're going to anticipate an additional increase.
And Henry, before you say, I just want to say, because this says revised budget of 23.
Right,
So what was the original?
right.
Was the revised, was the original less or greater? And so, I don't know.
So in the binder, under your section for city council, there is the budget versus actual page. It's on page 50, so it shows your actual spend up to now. We have about a month and a half worth of expenses left to put into this budget. And it has what your revised budget was at that time, and then it has what we're projecting.
Yeah, I can go to there. We got 26 tabs. And I think while we're doing this live in a discussion and people are looking at only a PowerPoint, the details are not there. They'll have to go to a document later and understand. That's why when you see something, it gives the impression, from my perspective, that the public is sitting there going, oh, well, they revised the budget, so what was the original from the screenshot? And then we're then talking about what we're proposing next. And so it'll probably be consistent all the way through. It's a nice way, but I think we're moving from, the details is over here, but we're not showing the details on the screen.
And it's great information for us when we bring the budget to you, to have all of this information that you've requested reflected.
Yeah, because, so, Henry, you were going to say something, I'm sorry.
I think the message is you're sensitive to what appears to be an increase within reality. As the finance director has said, there's the original, then there's the actuals. And so we'll come back to make sure it is not misportrayed in any way, that there is more going to the council, because that's not the intent. That's not what this picture is. And so we will have to re-message that, is what I will say. We will take care of that come the 12th.
Okay, and because I'm going to the detail page, and I'm going to try and see if what we've reflected on the snapshot gives the same picture, because I want to look and see what we had for actual for 22, 23 expended. So go ahead.
Then we will proceed on to the city manager budget. The city manager budget reflects a reduction from prior year of $708,000. The bulk of that is going to be in contract services. We had some continuing assessment funds that were carried over from prior years, some other services and supplies, and then looking at the historical spend, the trainings and meetings decreased slightly. Those were the only changes in the city manager budget. If I can proceed to the city clerk management services budget. City clerk management services budget saw a reduction from prior year of $297,000. The bulk of this was also in contract services, as well as office equipment, machinery. Missing one, sorry. Oh, and postage went down a bit.
And also I can add in there, because of, I don't have the election in that budget. So that's always a decrease in my budget when it's not an election year. So the next budget come in, it'll be added in there. So,
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
so that's the decrease part of it.
Okay, did we cover the utility manager one?
No, we have not.
Okay, because I'm trying to follow through, and then I went to the city clerks, which is under tab
We have not.
9, and we,
Yeah, perhaps we're going too fast, so let me back up, because it's a fair question for not only the mayor and council, but for the community. We're gonna come back and re-message so that it does not portray an increase. So we have that direction. Mayor, you had a thought?
No, well,
And
yeah,
then I was
because
gonna-
as we moved away, I realized, and I looked at this page, and for the budget for expenditures on the city council and administration, right after we did the first page, and I was seeing the columns, and I was looking, okay, so we're dealing with what we're projecting to have for the budget for 23-24.
Correct.
But we don't have an actual column for what was the 22-23 budget. If you look at it, we only have a revised budget column on this page. And so there's something there that I would say, well, trying to match apples to apples here. And then I realized that we're talking about more than just the salary of the numbers, the 5 FTEs and the part-times, but, you know, all the other things that fall in here. So I was trying to find the number to match up, and I have not yet. But that's, I've come down and I finally got it down here at city council total. I finally did. But again, what I'm saying is, where is the actual budget that was the actual budget proposed for 22-23?
It is not in this document, and historically, when we bring the budget document, and when City of Rialto has brought the document, the columns they have used
Okay.
are actual revised, year-to-date and projected. I can add original if you
Well,
like that.
Your microphone is off.
Yeah,
Oh, I was saying historically, in this finance department, when they've brought the budget, proposed budget, it has always been taken from the revised, actual, and projected. I can
Okay.
put the original, we can put the original
so
on
you're
there.
saying we usually do just the revised, well, because in this document, I'm looking at on the fund review, I do see the adopted budget for 22-23
In the summary,
in the summary.
yes.
Which, is that,
That's how this
Is
budget
that- yeah, that's how we do it, but is that,
How I've seen it in other
how yes.
agencies? No.
okay, thank you. I was thinking about, the world, usually, okay, that helps me.
I do my best to stay consistent.
I would recommend that we maybe adopt a standard system that's consistent with, because that's where
We can do that
I
in the
was
next
looking at it,
budget
yeah,
year for
thank
sure.
you.
And Mayor, you'd asked about the utilities manager?
No, well, let me,
Okay.
I had a question.
Councilmember.
I know we're at the city clerk's department, they're a revenue generator, and I know that there was some adjustments made on how they do appointments, and was wondering if any of the changes that were made administratively changed the revenue coming in.
Yes and no.
Okay,
It just all depends on the timing. Coming out of COVID, it was slow transition, getting into things and everybody getting back. And so, right now, it's been steady,
okay,
but we're still working by appointments.
okay.
And then I think of our timing that when we are in the city, that does have a reflection on Mondays and Fridays. It's a low paying, low service that we can provide because of staffing. So other than that. the
Generally, it's
same.
like a $400,000 revenue?
Something like that.
Okay.
That's.
And
the
it
revenue
wholly
is still
funds
consistent.
several positions that are dedicated to that function.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor and council members, with your permission, are we comfortable enough that we've worked through the council, the manager, and the clerk? Can we proceed?
Yes,
We
no.
can have as much dialogue
I
as you like,
think
just
we're
want you
gonna probably
comfortable.
come back and forth, but, you know, we can
Absolutely.
proceed.
Okay.
You budgeted 2 hours, so we're only in.
Well, I budget two,
We're
but your comfort level could be more.
Okay.
We haven't even got to the 1 hour yet, so.
That's true.
But, back to utility, so that we close out everything, because that is the one unit that does report directly to the council.
Correct, and there have been no changes at all in the RUA budget from what you have seen in the past. The utility budget remains exactly as it was. This is a general fund overview to be able to make sure that we have captured all that you're looking
Okay, if you say so. I thought we did do some hiring, but okay.
Well, I think what
Within
we'll
that
do.
last year,
That
but that's
was-
I
fine.
think when we get to that tab, so we're comfortable, let Tom refresh what Aaron has just said so that we're on the same page. I don't want anyone to think that those numbers aren't accurate, so I want to stop and pause at that section so that there's a comfort level for all of you. So Aaron? Community development.
Colby Cataldi is unavailable at the time, so I will handle the community development presentation. One of the things I really wanted to highlight on this is that in the proposed budgets we've discussed before, there were numerous changes that we were requesting. All of those requests have been removed. The city manager really wants to work with the community development director to evaluate the department as a whole, the service offerings, and make sure that the level of staffing and the plan makes sense in the long run. But what we are asking for, and that's where you see a big portion of this increase here, is to reclass one of the senior planners to a principal planner. And that is the only change we are requesting for the community development department at this time.
If I may also, Mayor, add in a particular comment. I'm sensitive to the fact that the mayor and council have specifically had a concern about more worker bees versus more managers. And so I am not in that position right now to make an accurate assessment and wanted to put a hold on that until I'm able to do a workforce assessment plan with Colby when he comes back. And hopefully that transition to a more specific, well thought out request would come at the mid-year, so you don't feel like it went into a black hole. It's not gonna go into a black hole. It will come back at the appropriate time at the mid-year, because when Colby comes back next week, I'm planning on between September and October, starting to figure out that assessment of what are the necessary workers in the department, because it has high volume. And I don't wanna rush to judgment, so I put it in abeyance specifically to be able to work with Colby and not rush to judgment on positions.
I was gonna say, you had a comment, go ahead.
Yeah, I get that there's certain top priorities being worked on with this department. But from my perspective, I think customer service should be the top priority. And any changes should have some type of justification and how it's going to improve customer service. Many of the calls I receive are within this department. And so I'm just really concerned that any changes might, I just want to make sure that any changes that come through this department are going to benefit the customer service side of it.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember.
I agree with Councilmember Trujillo's comments on customer service. We're clearly lacking over there in customer services. The other issue I have is when I look at building inspections and I see one inspector totally buried, and that's in the city manager's monthly report. One inspector totally buried with inspections, the other has much less. Even though I understand they may be commercial, it seems that we're lacking building inspectors. So I think that should be a priority over management individuals in that department.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Gonzalez.
One of the things that I'd like to make sure that we always have is a bilingual person there. And I know, what's our bilingual levels that we currently have?
We have basically written and spoken, I believe. There's no tiers, it's just whether or not you're able to, right, so.
Well, I meant how many bodies?
Oh, there are
How many
numerous
people?
currently in
There's-
community development.
I don't have those exact
yeah,
numbers.
we can get
but
the numbers
I
for
can
you.
get those for you.
Okay, because a lot of times they all go off to lunch at the same time, and then someone comes in, and then we get the call that you know, they didn't have anybody that was bilingual, and you know, some of the other comments that were raised by my colleagues. And I think it's real important, being that this is a community with at least 70% Latino, that we make sure that we're there to cater to that and not have that person leave without a good experience here in the city.
Agreed. And the interim city manager and I can both tell you, we have certainly resolved the go to lunch at the same time issue.
Good. Thank you.
And I guess just to echo and support clearly, because I too receive constant calls and I get feedback that folks are always wanting to have those calls come directly to upper management. But the reason they call is because they're trying to move a project. They're trying to help get things in the ground and get business open. And we end up with the customer service side of it is long. I've asked for seeing some measurements on how much time it takes for the process of plan checking and responding back to people. And we talk about the same things over and over. Not just with Aaron, with you being there, but prior, and so it seems like it's systemic in the structure over there, and that's one I will have to echo too. I was very concerned with seeing more of people and a plan to reclass and create levels where I still don't see the customer service counter stuff and being able to handle and process the way the structure is. So I think definitely it would be on hold until we can figure out exactly where we're going.
I guess as a last, I want to say that there probably needs to be an entire department coaching on terms of customer service. I don't think that that department operates as a customer service department. They operate more like you need a permit, so you're gonna come to me. So I think overall, we need to have a different culture there. These people that are walking in, they're our investors. They're the investors to our organization. And that's how they should be treated. And they should be treated with a lot more respect than they're getting treated now, because I get the calls all year and I get the comparisons. We opened up a body shop in Fontana and everything was great. And then how come in Rialto this, how come in Rialto that, how come in? So I constantly hear that. And this isn't just last year. It's been a reoccurring for the last 5 years. I've heard that narrative. So I think we really need to maybe do a crash course on some customer service that will really knock the socks off of our community that's coming to either be a part of our community or open a business or remodel their home or whatever it is that they need. I think that's a big push that we should strive for.
I think you'll be happy to know, Mayor Pro Tem, that's already in the works. And I don't know if Shama could comment on whether or not you've procured the training or if that's, I know it was in process, but it will not just be isolated to that department, but the city as a whole, anyone that is forward-facing to be able to place that concentration on customer service.
Good.
We should be able to respond back, though, within a certain timetable, and I think that's where all of us have heard the complaints, is that no one's getting back to us. And we need to get back to the particular persons who come in there and utilize the facilities and let them know what obstacles or problems may exist, so this way they can correct them. Maybe there was an error on their part, but if we don't begin to follow up with it, then it becomes a problem with us. And then, as stated before, the attitudes and behaviors of the staff too as well, and part of that orientation and training that needs to continue to be done ongoing. And that goes for every department, not just community development. That goes for every department.
But that's a good idea. I think we if there's timetables that you could share with us on response times, I'd appreciate it from that department. Whether it's a solar panel permit to a building permit, if you could just give us a timetable of average response times, I think it just gives a better idea of what our residents should be expecting. Thank you.
Okay, and just to close it out on that conversation, I will also echo what Councilmember Baca said. I think getting the training is good across the whole organization, but then I have to say the other side of it is, and why has it taken us so long? You know, it's not like a new thought, you know, but we've been on this for a while, so.
30 years.
No.
30 years.
30 years, huh? Okay, moving along, okay. We're gonna move to next,
Tim Sullivan will be handling the engineering department.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. I believe we're on tab 11 or page 109. So for the Engineering Services Department budget, I'm happy to announce that this year's proposed budget includes a 10% reduction below the 22-23 expenditures for a total budget of $5.1 million. The reduction is primarily attributed to a decrease in contract services, and the year-to-date expenditures and contract services for on-call land development and related activities are projected to come under budget. So that's where we're seeing a lot of the savings. The budget also proposes the elimination of 2 part-time intern positions. So these positions have been vacant for approximately 4 years, and they're redundant and with what we have in current time positions. So you also notice an increase of $142,781 in personnel costs. This is due to the adjustment of percentage distributions for previously approved or adopted positions and the reclassification of certain non-departmental expenses. Overall, the budget is presented, like I said, as a 10% reduction from last fiscal year, and there's sufficient funding for the department to continue its level of high level of service. And thank you. This concludes my brief summary.
okay, any questions or comments? Councilmember Scott?
I have the same comments for your department that I have for the building department. We seem to have a problem where individuals go on vacation or they are gone somewhere, I don't know where, maybe training, and a project will come in. It maybe get sent over to Wildan, but it sits at Wildan for 3 weeks before it gets released by the city because we're waiting for somebody to come back. I'm not going to give you specifics on it, but Mr. Brown has the specifics. That, in my opinion, is unacceptable. That is not good customer service when it takes a very simple grading plan to be looked at and approved by Plan Check. It takes 6 weeks and it still isn't out of Plan Check. So just the same comment, your department needs some work in customer service. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilmember Baca?
Well, first of all, Tom, I appreciate all the work that your staff and others have been doing in our community, so. But as I look at the projected budget and the reduction from prior years, do you have the anticipation, you know, since we're building quite a few warehouses in our area, it seems like we're gonna have a lot more potholes. And does that projection based on the potholes that may be created in the future and those potholes that need to be fixed currently right now, along with sidewalks that maybe need to be upgraded or done, and along with a draining system that we need, because I think our draining system is really outdated and need redone. Is that included in part of this budget or not?
So at this time, no, it's not. Staff is going to come back at, a portion of it is, let me step back. There's funding allocated over in the maintenance and facilities budget for Harding Harper, again, to continue that contract, to address potholes and so forth. And that's another $1 million that was included prior year and this year. So we do have that included. From a bigger picture, staff is going to be presenting a capital improvement program to council at mid-year. That includes, right now we have several plans and studies in place for sidewalks, broken, missing, curb gutter sidewalks. We just had a new street paving index done, an assessment done for the roads, and we're gonna continue our current CIPs. And I guess Aaron too, I mean, Aaron and I have spoke about this quite a bit, to continue our current backlog of CIPs. Engineering is very successful at receiving grants. What's listed in the budget, we have about $8.2 million in grants that we're working with. And then coming next Tuesday, we will present another grant for $7 million that the city was successful at receiving. So what we're trying to do is catch up with some of these backlogs and CIPs that staff is addressing, come back at mid-year with a 5-year projection on moving forward. So,
Thank you, Tom.
My comments on this department is on the safe routes to school. Again, I bring this up, and I don't know if they're gonna get a consultant for the areas outside the Rialto School District that are within the city. We have a lot of residents who live on the, not in the core, but they're still residents of the city that don't have sidewalks, that they have some traffic issues. And if we can get a consultant to work for the areas outside of the Rialto School District that are within the city of Rialto, we can help our residents get safe routes to school there as well. And I did check some of the school districts who cover those areas of the city. They're not actually investing in our city. So we want to make sure that the school districts around are doing that work for us. So if you can kind of work on that for, I don't know how we could include this in this budget or how we can address the need for a consultant outside of the Rialto School District. But maybe we could address that.
okay, yeah, definitely look into it and see what we can do and incorporate. If not, we can branch out to the neighboring cities or school districts to see what we can do.
And also, that's part of our responsibility as city council members to work with the school districts and look at how they might be able to work with us to meet some of these needs too as well. It's not just our responsibility as far as the city goes, but as a council, it's our responsibility to reach out with them to see if we can get a cooperative effort in dealing with these issues and the finances that are needed to improve the traffic conditions within our schools.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. So my two interns have been working on, I put them on a project to just go through all of our major streets and identify sidewalks that were, either trees or roots or whatever. So they're gonna have all that data. They've got pictures and locations for all that information. Hopefully, all this information that they've been gathering for the last few weeks, countless hours going up and down all our major streets, will be a benefit to hand over to your department and look at. They've also graded the worst ones, so that I know that not everything will be able to get done, but hopefully we could at least address some of the worst ones. And like I said, all this information is in thousands of pictures and geolocations that they've taken on the last few weeks. So I hope that could be incorporated into your CIP and at least some of the worst ones.
It will. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing to add to all of our concern, we're covering things that are in our minds and we're seeing. And I know we've got maintenance over here, and I appreciate that you've had your interns. I've spoke with them, and they've been out in the field actually pounding the pavement.
Literally.
And we've all gone, and then we think about our parks maintenance, and I think we've gone and experienced the lifts in sidewalks and activities being planned, and we have to find ourselves moving, rallying. So I don't want to labor this long, but I just want to say that when we talk about this budget, the other part is we have to have some hopefully with you or others, some forms to measure performance. Because I find myself still saying some of the same things every year, over and over. And yeah, we can't predict when COVID hits or the next pandemic, but the delivery and performance on these, whatever we're talking about, we don't see how it gets rolled in and it gets prioritized. And so I just want to leave it at that, because I think there's comments, I mean, even with the restructuring that we've done with our engineering versus our maintenance and who's responsible to talk to who, and just some of the levels of services. So I would just end it with that and hope that we can figure out how does this get measured? And then, and then how do we see those, that people have hit those marks? So we're moving on, if you guys are finished, we'll move on from engineering on into finance department. Is that the next one?
It will be finance, and wanted to give a quick thank you to Tim for setting in for our engineering services director, covering multiple departments on that. Thank you.
Question is, who is the engineering service director? He's interim, he's acting.
No, I said the setting in for the, currently that is Alberto Paiva, that is the engineering services director. He is out, and Tim has been covering the department.
Is he acting?
That's what I think I asked. See, that's another conversation. I think we need to know the status. At some point, we have to have some sense of where are the bodies that we have? Because they're structured like there's two separate departments.
And
Anyway.
here's the problem we have as a council. We don't know who to call for what, because nobody's told us.
Understood.
And I've already brought that up to Henry, but if our director is out, and I believe he's been out quite a while, do we have an acting?
We do have a contract city engineer, and Tim has been managing the department, awaiting the return or status.
Okay.
Let me see if I can be a little bit more clear.
Okay.
There is no one sitting in that department acting as the acting department head.
But I guess
Tim is doing
why
it.
not? And if Tim is doing that, why is he not acting?
So I guess you're asking, is he getting the title and
Well,
paid for that?
Yeah, I
Understand.
guess so.
I understand.
I'm not his union rep, but yeah.
Well, you're talking to his union rep.
I'm happy. How's that?
You're happy.
I think, Ed, you heard him. He's happy with me. The question is fair, and let me
And the
backtrack
structure, I think, is
holistically.
concerning.
Because you can kind of see that the frustration that the mayor and council are exhibiting is one of being in tune with the organization for who's doing what, when, and where. And so the Councilmember Scott has asked for a roster of names, which I am starting to develop for the benefit not only of the staff of the council, but maybe more importantly, how we use that on the website so that people can call these individuals. Who's doing what, when, and where. So what I'm interpreting is what you have said to me personally, and that is, look, we have to be more responsive, we have to be more metric, we have to measure more things, we have customer service. We know, and by the way, it's almost everywhere except in one place that I've been an interim in, customer service, responsiveness, and the ability to get to yes in community development is everywhere. It doesn't mean that that's a cultural norm that's acceptable. So we have to course correct. And everything you're saying here, by the way, because I think the next logical step is everything we've said, where does it go? And I have that answer. The assistant city manager, assistant two, is putting everything together here. Councilmember Scott has asked for a mark of Monday. You're gonna have it by Monday. All of these comments as we get into the final budget adoption period, pending your comfort level, because I never want you to feel it's anything more than you're in a good spot. We're gonna respond to some of these things in terms of customer service training, the employee assessment and community development, but really the cultural pervasiveness of customer service across the board. Your message to me and the message to the department head here is we need improvement in those areas because you're hearing about it. And so we have to come with a definitive, as the mayor said, who's gonna do it, when's it gonna be there, and what should we expect as a result of spending money on customer service? It applies to everything, by the way.
Well,
But
you
it's
know,
an example.
Henry, what was just stated into the structure, the temporary structure,
Yeah.
it leads, my concern when you said the way it's structured over there, we got a contract person serving in a role, then I look at this org chart, so that means staff is reporting to a contract person and being supervised, but this is the way it looks.
That's correct.
Even though your head's going, no, that's not. And it's
That's
hard
how it
for
is.
us to to clarify what the structure should be based on what we see on paper and actually what is in place for the moment. So, which then gets perhaps some point over into someone not feeling right about it, and then they look to our council in some form of something. So I'm just thinking, how do we do that? And then if the contract person's there for the workload, then who's supervising the bodies that would normally be reporting up on this org chart? Org charts, lines and things mean something, so anyway.
But it sends another message too, as well, to us. It basically states, or to the public that is watching this, is saying, maybe we need to consolidate some of these positions if someone is handling that responsibility too as well. I'm not saying that we should, but it's sending that kind of message when we don't replace someone with an interim or someone in that position that the public can contact or members of the council can contact too as well. But we appreciate everything that Tim has been doing and all the work that his staff has done.
Okay.
The observations are good, but I want you to remember, if anything's been said, Tim is happy.
Good. I have a question for,
Tim may be the only one happy, okay?
Aaron.
I have no response to that, Mayor.
Question for Aaron. I know a few months ago, you were working on the organizational chart, and you had one of your staff doing that, and I saw it. I don't think it's staying live, and I do think that that's one of the key items that is what we discussed right now. We need to have that organizational chart live in any line, and it needs to go to a place where anybody can look it up and know who's under who and all the new positions that are interim and everything else that's going on. What happened to that organizational chart, Aaron?
It is still in the state that it was before.
So it never got worked on anymore?
It did not. That is correct.
Okay, is there a reason or?
I'd love to discuss that,
Okay,
if we could at a later time.
okay,
If that's possible.
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move now to the next one is the finance department.
So next is us, finance.
Okay.
We are a department with 21 FTEs, and we have 3,000 hours of part-time for 2 admin aides. Our budget is consistent. The only reduction has been the closure of the Rialto Cares program. So the budget for Rialto Cares was in the finance department's budget, and with the exhaust of those funds, our budget will go as is.
Okay. Any questions, Councilmember Trujillo?
I know there was a timeline with that program. Was it closed out, or was there any money remaining that we had to?
The funds are exhausted.
Okay. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
If there are no more questions for finance, we could move on to fire when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present a review of our fire department budget. If you're tracking in the book, it's tab 13, page 134. Following the theme of tonight, the fire department budget is flat going into this year. There's actually a reduction of approximately $69,000. A lot of that's a testament to the support you've provided over the last 2 years with transforming our administrative services and reforming what we're doing in the office with the goal of increasing responsiveness, increasing customer service. There's still work to be done as some of those positions are less than 6 months on now, but all of those positions have been filled. And again, with the goal of being more customer-centric. We've worked to modernize and be more resilient, to have backups in those areas. You know, we have a assistant fire marshal now filled, we have a fire marshal. So if somebody's off on vacation or gets injured, you know, we can still be responsive to permits or building plans, and so we're not falling behind there. The same with the front counter. You know, we do have a bilingual option at the front counter. Is that available all the time when several people are off? Not this point, but we're working on that as well. The goal being really leader's intent in the fire department has been to increase the customer experience. And so far, we're working to meet that goal. Filling those seats over last years has given us an opportunity to restructure again, and in this budget, we'll be eliminating 2 positions and adding 1. So it's really giving up 2 for 1. What we've gained in digitization and modernization and electronic bill pay, you know, we've been able to cover the gaps for some of the other areas. Adding a community outreach and education specialist will help us to fill some of those external, outside the office customer service when we talk about community CPR classes, community risk reduction courses, getting out to our mobile home parks, getting out to some of our vulnerable areas like some of our senior living complexes, and to provide CPR, ready, set, go with risk reduction. You know, talk about infant mortality and some of these things we haven't had the opportunity to do. We've counted on our fire engine companies to fill in the gaps in some of these areas, along with their other missions. So having someone dedicated in that role who can be, you know, be in the field, not subject to calls, and enhance that education and outreach is going to be very beneficial to us. The rest of the budget is flat. There's no increases in any of the individual lines that are substantive. And so what you're seeing is a removal of 1 spot overall from the org chart. But we believe that the work we've done over the last several years, we're actually going to see added value with adding this community outreach position. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, Chief, if you or Catherine could also touch on the unfunded liability and why it looks like such a significant reduction in budget.
Yeah, so using some of our restricted monies, some of our EMS reimbursement monies, and being more strategic with the application of that allowed us to really knock the hit off some of our general fund encumbrances.
In the slide, we show a reduction in prior year of 2.9 million. Catherine will explain why that, with a UAL of about, 2.8 million, I think is what it was
Yes,
transferred.
it's about 2.8 million, and these are one of the transfers that were made to the non-departmental for the unfunded liability. It was being charged against the fire's budget, but really had nothing to do with their operational expense.
Okay. Good. Questions?
Yes,
Well,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Ed.
Go ahead.
I'll yield to the senior.
Come on.
Let's get our driver's licenses out here.
you meant tenure? You did mean
I
tenure.
meant senior member,
Oh,
you know, I didn't mean any kind of insult there.
Hey,
You know, he was a little touchy there. Gee.
I'm going to take a break.
Chief, the reclass of the, and I probably missed it, but the reclass of the executive assistant is from what to the executive assistant?
it's,
They'd be reclassing that and removing that to the community education outreach person.
Oh, so you're moving that position down there? And
Yes.
then what will you have in that position?
We currently have the senior office specialist in there, and we've also reshaped the administration, have more overlap at the front counter. So we don't need both of those 2 positions.
Okay, is there still two individuals there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just kind of a quick question, since we're on TV. Are you prepared for this weekend? That hurricane is at 100.
For Hillary?
It's at 120 miles an hour, and it's a Cat 3,
Yes, sir. My FEMA jacket is in my closet ready to
headed
go.
directly at Southern California.
Yes, sir.
So do we have sandbags being prepared?
Yes, sir. We have sand and sandbags at the Public Works Building, Facilities and Maintenance Building, excuse me, sir, as well as fire
And
stations
have you
203
got those
and 204.
dusty boats out yet for
Yes,
swift
sir.
water
My
rescue?
oar is ready to go.
And a lot more.
This is a tough budget.
okay.
Okay, Chief, just one last comment.
Yes, sir.
We all know that there was kind of a negative article in the newspaper
Yes, sir.
last weekend, and there were some Rialto people at the very top of the list. I would hope at some point you will address that through the budget process of how we're going to maybe make the city look a little better.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Baca?
Thank you. In reference to the budget and projections, my question is, have you forecasted the type of technology or communication systems that we may need to make sure that we can communicate with the police department or with other departments within the area? I want to make sure that we're beginning to budget. We move towards new technology that is going to be needed, so this way we're prepared to service not only the departments within the city, but to make sure that we have the best equipment, the type of equipment that we need, so that we can communicate. Because I know when I served as a legislator, we had problems during that time. One department talking to the police department, the communication systems were not in place. So we need to make sure that we get and look at, and I don't know if you projected that in part of this budget, and if you have, I'm glad you have. So I'm just concerned that we need to move as we move into the 21st century with the type of technology that we need in communication system.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that. Just rest assured that we have complete interoperability with our law enforcement partners, both within Rialto and in the region. Over the past 3 years, I don't want to speak for Chief Kling, but the council's been very generous about replacing our same radios. We completed that at mid-year with your approval, and the police department has over the past 3 years. Same technology, same radios. We're at end of life, and so we have the most modernized radio equipment that's available right now, thanks to your generosity.
But we need to continue to look at if there's additional systems that would be a lot better and a lot more effective.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. And I don't have any questions on the budget, but just to echo exactly what I heard when I walked out the door today. We have a hurricane coming, and I would hope that we're doing something now in preparation. Of course, they talked about it's going to be excessive flooding, raining in the mountains. We know that sometimes the water doesn't collect into the river for a while, but we definitely have a lot of people, unfortunately, that are in the river. So I just hope that, I'm always raising about cooling centers, heating centers, and now there's people out there, and so I just hope, I echo what, if it's
The good part
available.
is he's over-prepared the last 3 false alarms, so hopefully he just doesn't, hopefully he continues his
Yes.
over-preparing, and the FEMA jacket that we got him in. Yeah, I
No,
don't think so
I don't
either,
think,
so
well, and
make sure, don't sit on the sidelines on this one.
no, and I guess what I would say to that, he's been over-prepared, waiting for
Which is
false
good.
alarm.
Appreciate
However, he shared to me today when I spoke with him about something else, that we have sent some staff up to Oregon. And so we are beginning to deploy or backing up. Of course, I haven't seen any of us send anyone off to Maui, but
When are they
the
coming
point
back?
is, well, they just went.
I know they just left this week.
I don't
That's a
think they're gonna be
14-day
back.
commitment, could be extended to 21 based on the situation.
The what?
Mayor Pro Tem asked about the commitment for the fire crew we sent to assist with the fires in Oregon. How long? Typically, it's a 14-day commitment with the option to extend to 21 based on the need.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. But to that point, I think they're not going to be returning by tomorrow or the next day.
No, ma'am, but rest assured, all their positions have been backfilled, and we're not short of any resources in Rialto
Okay.
from normal staffing.
Thank you. Okay, moving to the next.
That'll move on to Human Resources and Risk Management when you are ready, ma'am.
It's a tough act to follow. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. I am on tab 14, page 159. The close to $480,000 reduction in the Human Resources and Risk Management budget is due largely in part to the savings in salary and benefit of reclassifying the Deputy Director of Human Resources and Risk Management to that of a Senior Human Resources and Risk Management Analyst. Reclassifying this position will provide boots on the ground, more hands-on experience, and a more hands-on approach to all areas of human resources and risk management, including assisting our current human resources specialists in managing and overseeing 50-plus open and active recruitments that we have. So simply put, this is going to be the worker bees. We need more staff as opposed to someone who's actually directing or managing the work of the team. So with that, I respectfully turn over to you for any questions you may have.
Okay. Councilmember Scott?
The deputy director position, that's the original position you were in, correct?
That's correct.
So you've had nobody since you left that position and became the director?
That is correct.
And I'm assuming based on that, you do not feel you need a deputy director?
I do not need a deputy director, no.
Excellent. I want to commend you for stepping forward and eliminating that position and putting more frontline people on.
Thank you.
I think that's important. I think other departments ought to follow suit with that. I do have a quick question about risk management,
Okay.
because that's been a common topic for the council for many years, way prior to you coming here, was that we are not proactive with risk management. So are you doing some things to make your department more proactive with risk management?
Yes.
And I'm talking about throughout the city.
Yes. So we have actually implemented online training through our PRISM, our risk pool that we have, PRISM, and it's training that all employees citywide can utilize. We are the reclassification of the senior analyst will allow me to have a senior analyst solely dedicated towards risk and risk management, implementing a risk program that does safety inspections, conducts playground inspections during the summer, things like that. That's kind of citywide for our employees, as well as doing a lot more comprehensive training, Cal OSHA training, and managing many of our risks specific to individual departments.
And I would hope that you would branch that out to risk management for our community members, which may at some point require additional people, but we get involved in too many lawsuits and too many claims that we shouldn't be getting involved in, that we should be catching.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? The only one I'd have on is, I want to talk more because you have risk management, human resource, and I thought there was other activities that are also in your department that don't seem to be listed.
General liability, workers' compensation, and human resources administration.
So where is the EO, discrimination or EO complaints go?
The discrimination and EEO complaints go towards our general liability fund and all management.
No, I mean, well, what department handles it?
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me?
Those functions are recorded in the books in our internal service funds.
No, I mean the activity. If someone comes to file a complaint on EO or discrimination, is that not also in HR?
Yes, it is. It is housed in human resources.
Yeah, and I guess that's always been of a concern. I think there should be the separation. I don't know where and how, but there's often there should be levels of confidentiality with that said, but I think here again, the structure and the models, I don't believe they've always been in the same place, but it has been in the city of Rialto.
So EEO claims, disciplinary matters, grievances, discrimination claims are handled by myself. I solely handle all of those matters that come through our office.
Okay, you do, but I'm still saying the activity should not.
Should be a separation.
Separated from, and there's other models that show that that's generally the way it is structured. Okay, that's it. Move to the next one.
The next department will be the Information Technology Department, and I will handle that one, Mayor, when you're ready.
Go ahead.
All right. The reduction from the prior year is $520,000. That is, there isn't a 3-year historical because we did not have 3 years of the IT department. We have been able to identify numerous categories that was a total overall reduction. There are no additional staff changes of any kind in the department.
Any comments in regards to IT? Seeing none?
No, I just wanted to thank you for, well, the new system's working out fine, for the phones. The email's gotten a lot better, so that means that a lot of your, safeguards are working. So I just wanted to thank the department for shoring up all those improvements.
Absolutely, and City Council made a significant investment in the equipment from a security standpoint, production, and we have been fortunate to have staff that have been able to modernize the systems. One of them just sent me a Teams message about the online function of business licensing. We'll be able to do business license renewals online in the very near future. I haven't even seen it. I just saw the message came in with, here's an example, and that's what they're doing every single day.
Thank you.
Okay. And will that also include at some point people to be able to submit their plans
Absolutely.
remotely? Okay, not just a permit request.
And what we're doing is looking at how we've upgraded the old system that was Trackit to a modern Trackit system to be able to get that online, to do online processing, online permitting, and not wait for the new system that was coming, so we can have progress immediately and then transition when the new system is online. And if
Okay,
there are
thank
no
you.
other questions for that department,
No,
maintenance and facilities will be next with Tim Sullivan.
okay.
All right, thank you. Good evening again. The total FY 23-24 department expenditures for the maintenance and facility budget are estimated at 11.7 million. This is approximately a 1.5% increase above last year's budget. Part of this is due to a transfer from the police department that Chief Kling and I have been working on, as well as staff, to better track fleet expenditures, that the pot of money that they kept in PD. We're gonna transfer that over into fleet. That's for outfitting certain vehicles, repair, and dedicated items for the police department fleet. The budget also includes the elimination of 3 positions, which are shown on the slide. These positions are redundant positions and not necessary for the success of the department. Also, the department staff has worked diligently to keep the operating costs consistent with last year's budget, and I feel confident that the proposed budget is sufficient to continue the department's high level of customer care for the Rialto residents. So thank you, and this concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Maintenance?
All right, if there are no questions, Mayor, we will proceed to,
I believe that
one
Mayor Pro Tem.
So for the fleet, I know that in the past, we've asked for all of our vehicles, what the value are, the actual time that we're suggesting to keep these vehicles on the road. Did we someone come up with that sheet yet? I know it was asked maybe a year ago.
I can produce that for sure, kind of a state of the fleet, where we're at, values. Because, right, we base a lot of our policies and replacements on APWA standards. So for police vehicles, it's 3 to 5 years or 75,000 miles. Those are significant or actual accurate numbers based on studies I've done, but I'll provide the information for Rialto's fleet.
Because I know there's some police vehicles out there that are
Oh, yes.
way beyond, and I want to see how much we're spending on those, because I know that the officers enjoy the older vehicles for some reason, but we really need to find out how much they're actually costing us. Sorry guys, but I see some vehicles out there and they're like 20 years old or something. So I want to see where those numbers are, because at one point we have to get them replaced. So
I'm in agreement. I just wanted to know if you could designate which are leased and which are owned, because I know that we have some vehicles are leased.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're moving to,
we'll move to Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department with Cynthia.
okay?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. In this year's budget, you will see that there is an increase of $438,000. Sadly, inflation is directly impacting this department in several different areas. And while our main goal is to keep the budget status quo and the service and supplies in the same level, some of those things are out of our control. The one thing that the department is asking for this year is one new part-time administrative aide position so that we can provide some support to our team for the additional divisions that we've taken on in the last year and a half: parks maintenance, CDBG, and the cemetery. Some of the increases that we are seeing are the increase in producing the city's Progress magazine. There is a increase in a variety of different divisions when it comes to our insurance and utilities costs. Rental items and services when it comes to our special events and some of our programs. Materials and supplies are skyrocketing. However, our programs are also increasing at the same time. So in order to keep up and maintain and be able to provide the service to those that we've been providing, there is a need to increase some of our costs. When it comes to our sports program, we are at full capacity with a waiting list of at least 100 kids or more. The cost of jerseys has gone up, the cost of referees has gone up. Increase in our the CPI contract with the landscape contract. We do have some additional money budgeted for Frisbee. This year we discovered that in order to provide the wood chips for the particular park, it's $60,000 on its own. Normally we just plan to provide wood chips for playground spaces. Unfortunately, we don't need to do that for Frisbee, but there are large hills that we do need to account for to make sure that we keep them at a manageable and decent look. We've also needed to increase our vandalism account due to increased vandalism that we're seeing in the park, from the restrooms to the lighting being stolen. There are some grant match obligations that council committed to last year. Some of those are with the Senior Center Transportation Program. Some of those are with CDBG, so we can continue our computer lab programs that we've started this year. And that pretty much sums up the cost increase for our department. In discussion, as Aaron said, we did go line by line. I did recommend removing the International Food Festival, as we did not get the participation or interest from our community that we had desired. We're definitely excited to see the new software that finance has implemented, because this is going to be allowing us to really give you a detailed tracking of what the expenses are for each event, which we haven't been able to do in the past. And I want to thank Catherine and Shama for all their hard work in really allocating the part-time staff in their hours and in the right places. So that's been really helpful, and I look forward to being able to just give you a direct and easy report on items.
Okay, and that's it. Councilmember Trujillo?
Yeah, my question is, I know we have some resources from the police department. We have park rangers on some of your parks. What impact has that had? You mentioned an increase in vandalism. Has it helped at all with some of the destruction?
So we had Jason, and Jason unfortunately left us to go to a different program, but I know Chief is continuing his recruitment process. We didn't get to build a long enough relationship with him. Security has made a huge difference. Their participation in the parks at night. We've installed gates in the parks to be able to close them at 10 p.m. and really reduce the amount of activity that's happening there. Obviously, we can't stop people from walking onto the parks, but the parking has been addressed.
Yeah.
But we work very closely with Chief Kling and his team, and anytime we have any issues or we get any call-ins, we connect directly with either Chief or the captains, Lieutenant Nelson. They've all been really fantastic in helping us address issues as we know that they're happening.
There is one event that I wanted to bring up. I know you're scaling down with the International Food Festival, but there's a group called JVS SoCal that there's a Veterans Resource Fair at the Ontario Library. They don't have anything that they're doing in November, and they're interested in coming here. All they need is some tables and the south parking lot, and they're pretty much self-sustained.
If council wishes to add that to our event summary, we can absolutely figure out how to accommodate that if that's the direction of council.
Well, that's definitely something I'm desiring to do. It's a group that just has a lot of resources at their tip. I've seen that they bring out the federal agencies, and it's something that I've.
Councilmember, I think what Ms. Alvarado is saying is that if you have something, you need to submit the special events application, because I've been directed to do the same, and I also have an event coming for Veterans Day, and so we need to coordinate the activities, but that's why, if that's your desire, I have something as well. So
Okay.
I think unless our process, because that's what I'm finding is there's a structure that we'd like us to adhere to, and I know I have requested it, and I know the interim city manager is aware of it, but we need to coordinate, because all of us do have something, and it's funny you should mention that, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because I do want to talk about the special events, not that they fall under her office per se, because there's a long list for various departments, and it doesn't fall under any one particular section, but I thought I'd wait until the conclusion to kind of discuss the special events list, because it's just in the front of the budget, and it seems like the ownership is just kind of a collection of all the events, and it's not all just into her shop. So, but I appreciate you have something on the horizon. We've moved some things that I was going to ask about, because we haven't had anything any veterans event in November.
Yeah.
So, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, so that was one of mine, and then the other thing is I wanted to see if wanted to have very specific questions about childcare. You know, it's something I consistently hear that there's a growing demand, and was wondering if that's something that you've actually had more participation.
So in the past, prior to COVID, we did have a childcare program. Unfortunately, I have not been able to bring it back just yet, because I haven't been able to maintain or increase my staffing levels and it's not a budget issue. The budget is there. I just can't keep the bodies.
Okay.
Once I can do that, we can absolutely bring that back. The 300 wing is completely done and renovated, and one of the spaces in there is exactly for that.
Okay, thank you. My questions.
Councilmember Scott?
Thank you. Just a couple of thoughts and ideas for you. You mentioned uniforms and the cost skyrocketing, which is very accurate, and the cost of holding events, especially for youth and whatnot. Have you given any thought, or are you doing anything to market to our business community? Because our business community has grown a lot over the last 5 years. What are we doing to get businesses to sponsor various teams, pay for uniforms, to do things? The mayor and I, back, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, had discussions in EDC about the potential of allowing businesses to sponsor field and put revenue in those parks and fields to be able to pay for some of the programs, but I haven't really seen anything happen with that. So it's something I would like you to consider, think about, and maybe you can come to EDC and we can hash it out. All of us up here try to help you with that.
Sure.
Because there is a lot of money out there in the business community, and they're more than happy to sponsor, especially when it comes to kids and youth and programs that are good for the community. Special events, I really think you have your plate full with the special events, and I want to commend you for the job you're doing in Parks and Rec. If that's still the name of the department, I'm not sure. But I think you're doing a great job over there, and I think it's the best run I've seen since I've been on this city council. So I just want to let you know how much I appreciate the job you and your staff do.
Thank you.
I believe Councilmember Baca.
Yep.
went first.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to commend Cynthia for all of the special events that we've had this last year. I think our community would appreciated a lot of the events that were hosted, not just for our youth, but our seniors, and going on with a lot of our parks, recreation, our swimming. But my question would come in reference to a need that I see other communities doing, and something that we may look towards the future, and that's having concerts, whether we get sponsors or others, to have in one of our parks, whether it be at Ferguson or Simpson or Frisbee Park, or even Rialto Park, but looking at the possibilities of a concerts that we can have ongoing every year. And this would attract a lot more people to our city. It would be excellent public relations in reference to what we're offering our residents in our city, so this way they don't have to go, no offense to Fontana or Redlands. I'd like them to stay here in our area and attend a lot of these events. Hopefully we can look at that and look at the funding that we may need for that, whether it's budgeted or whether it's looking for sponsors to do that. The other thing I'd like us to look at is pickleball courts. We need those in terms of the growth that's very popular all over. We need to keep up and look at where we might have additional pickleball courts in the city of Rialto, and you could explore where is best to have them. I know that we currently have one, but we need more than just that one, and an expansion. I'd like to see it in terms of the future, expanding the Johnson Center, the basketball courts, and then having a pickleball right there with a new administration building, along with the police department, but that's futuristic, and I don't know where we're gonna get those monies. The other thing I'd like us to possibly look at, and I know I've talked about this at many other times, is well, an amphitheater that would be nice to go with a concert, you know. But the Wi-Fi's at each of our parks, I keep mentioning that, and hopefully that we can look at looking at the budget, looking at where monies may be available for that as well, so we can provide for our citizens in the city of Rialto. But again, you know, thank you very much. I think you're doing an outstanding job with the staff that you have and the personnel. And I appreciate all of the volunteers that have volunteered at each and every one of the events. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know you mentioned that the cost of the Rialto magazine has went up by a lot, and this is something that I'll ask my colleagues. I know that we do 4 a year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that we can consolidate to one and then start moving on to a digital platform? Everybody is on their phones more than they are looking at the newspaper. So would it be an opportunity to maybe get one magazine per year and maybe spend some of the money that we'll have left over doing some geo-targeting within our city to start moving on to a digital platform where we can have the communication directly with our entire community and focus on getting a lot more of the followers to either come to our sites and see our progress there. And that's a question I'll pose to the council.
Well, I would, before we finish the part, I'd like to ask some questions, but I think it was, do we have 3 times a year or 4 times? I thought it was 3 times.
I'm trying to remember the colors.
So it's 4.
I think it's 3. I
3.
think it's
I
every
think it's
4
3.
months.
Yeah, every 4 months makes
Yeah.
it 3 times.
So one of the things that we're finding is when this magazine is not out early, we get a lot of phone calls because they want to touch. We are encouraging throughout the magazine the use of QR codes so we can provide additional information. We budget for about 60 to 80 pages of information. a lot of the departments have a lot more information that really needs to go in there, which is why we've really started to turn to the QR code to be able to provide the additional stuff without adding costs to the 60 to 80 pages that is budgeted based on the issue.
How's some of the sponsorship on the, I know there's ads in there.
There's ads, but unfortunately, because I don't have all of the staff necessary to focus on that, it's really hard to secure consistent and top dollar sponsorships. So to answer your question, Councilmember Scott and MPT, we have done sponsorships this last year. We've put packets together. We have secured some monies, but it's a full-time job. And it's between the admin analyst and my programmer for events, between the two of them, they're the ones going out there to try to secure these dollars. If we wanted top dollar, it's gonna take a full-time position and 100% focus to do that.
I just gave McGee the job.
What?
So,
You need to
Raphael,
phone Barbara
is that
McGee, and that'll be the person to do it.
Were you finished? Okay. Councilmember
Yeah.
Trio.
No, to that point, I mean, I do receive, at least once a week or every 2 weeks, I receive text messages for the school district, because my kids are one of my kids is enrolled in the district. But, never really have I seen anything coming from your department on my text messages.
So if you're registered in any of our programs, we
Okay.
do use the software, and we message out when events are coming, if something's happening in the city, we do use that tool. If your kids have never actually registered in a program, you're not gonna
Okay.
see those. But we do try to use our social media to really push a lot of that communication and tag all of our sister departments.
That's good.
The
Okay.
school district, all of that information.
I see stuff on Instagram.
Well, with regards to suggestion for that, I would just say that before we do that, we figure out how to get some feedback, because even though there's the platform and most of us are moving in digital, there's still people who I know come in looking for the magazine, our seniors, I think those who are not as engaged in it. Our website is sometimes, I mean, today I had to try and get to our budgets, and it takes a while to navigate. So I'm not going to say we just wholesale do one a year, because then I think we'll find more people are still going to be coming in asking about things. But if we want to, maybe if it's twice a year, that may be something. And then maybe
It's worth looking at.
and maybe the activity is maybe in the wrong area for packaging and consideration. I don't know, but those, all good points. But at the same time,
either way,
having just speaking with someone this morning who
Yeah.
says that
Oh, no, I totally agree.
they don't
Yeah,
like to
people
deal
are not
with
gonna
the
deal with the
computers.
phones, yeah.
What is the
It-
biggest cost of that magazine? Is it postage?
Printing,
Printing. So what's the cost of that? I just, I want to get my head around how much this.
so I can't give you an exact cost because the cost is not 100% in my department. I have 20% of that cost. The 80% is actually in the city manager's office, so it's split between two. I could give it to you sometime tomorrow on what the actual cost of the overall magazine is for the year.
Yeah, because either way, regardless of whether we cut down on one, I still want to see the outreach to our community with some of the, you're doing a good job with the QRs and all that, but there's still a lot of outreach that we're not doing, like the geofencing. We have to, that's why I want some savings somewhere so we don't have to spend extra money. But once you have them on your platform, then it's really easy to give out information. And it's, I think it's crucial and vital, not only to have, I think there was, I can't remember, but anytime there's some kind of emergency as well, I know that, or a change of venue or something that's going on with our events, it'll be nice to be able to send out that information and not to have to wait for I just think we should look at, no matter what, growing it, whether it's not getting rid of the actual paper, but we still need to grow as active as Councilman Trujillo said. The school district is really active with their social media and their online platform. So I'd like to see us move more towards that so that we could save some trees as well.
I had a couple of comments, but to that point, you mentioned that there is something, if there's a sign-up place, I wasn't aware of it either.
No. So our software that we use is called ActiveNet, and so if you've registered for one of our programs, then
Okay,
we
for
have your
program.
information.
Okay,
Right.
for the
That's
program,
how
but
we're
not
able.
for
and
just notice.
The same with the school district.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to ask about in their package, but the special events allocations doesn't fall just into your area as we look at it, but I noticed in some of the things you recapped of some of the activities and things that have been accomplished in your area. One being, and it's always something that somebody just called again, you said that we had over 850 park shelters were rented in Rialto. That's great. That's a huge number, and 160 rentals for family organization events. When they rent it, what I guess the question I have for the department, the revenue that's captured, how do you find, where is it put on your end of, and I know we'll say we'll true up or whatever we want to call, but where do we capture the revenues that comes in from vendors paying vendor fees, renting the booths and all that? I went through it, I don't quite see it in the line items, and I don't know if we're going per group here, and I've kind of went through it. So not that you got to find it or whatever right now, but I would like to know that what is the revenue that we generate from all of the activities, and that's going to go back to the special event, and even the simple thing of the $5 special event that everybody pays when we have events, regardless if it's in your shop, it's internal or external. In the interest of time, you can point it out to me if it's captured.
Yeah. It's her rent revenue is on page 320.
Revenue?
In the back,
You said rent revenue?
Rent revenue. Here it's community center rentals.
Well, and vendors? Is
Yes.
it all under this, so it's all under one area?
No, it's multiple accounts. It's on
Okay.
page 320.
320?
At the
Okay,
top.
thanks. Good. Okay, on page 320. That takes it into another area?
Yeah, our detail.
Okay, back to
So we
the
have
detail.
detailed the entire budget.
All right, that was the part I had. Now, please.
There's no other questions, it'll be the police chief.
Madam Mayor, and when the pro tem gets back in, and then the rest of the council, I've got the pleasure of presenting the police department budget this year, and since the last time that we've all gotten together to talk, nothing has changed. The biggest, as the slide shows, and I won't go down the slide, but I'll go right to the heart of it. $5,801,016 is a reduction, but just as the fire department, $5,800,000 of that is in the UAL. So if you pull the UAL number out, we're actually showing a reduction of $1,016 for everything that you have been so graciously given us to improve the service of this police department and to the community. This year, we're not asking for any police sworn positions, but we are going to make some move because of recent laws. We're going to reclass a police transcription individual to, or position, I should say, to police records assistant. As I explained to this earlier, I really do have an issue with seeing people standing outside our police department waiting for us to open, or on the weekends we're not open, having to have people come here on the weekdays and take time off from work. So this will actually enable us to move towards a 7-day operation where folks can come in and get police reports and what have you, and assistance from our front counter. We're also going to reclass an administrative aide, which is a part-time position. We're going to add a full-time senior office specialist that will be in the Internal Affairs Division. And again, that's just due because not so much of the investigations, but it is just the changes in the laws that require us to do an extraordinary amount of more reporting. And then we're asking for another records assistance position, so you can see which way we're moving again for 7-day operation. I've got 199 full-time equivalent employees, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Thank you for bringing the Pride Platoon back.
Thank you.
We mentioned a couple months ago, I think we talked about the junior and senior driving program. Was that brought back for our residents?
Yeah, so we're working on that through our traffic division. That'll be one of our new community outreach programs. And then again, I'll really appreciate your recognition of the Pride Platoon and the hard work of my assistant, actually, Jeanette, that actually does that all the time.
Yeah, I think some of our residents were asking about that driving program because they get like a discount.
Yes, they do.
When they get a
Seniors do.
certificate from your department. So I
Yes.
think it's something that'd be nice to market as a value for our residents.
Make sure we do that.
Thank you.
With in conjunction with AAA.
And again, good job.
Thank you.
Any, Councilmember Scott?
Thank you, Chief. Couple questions. Where are you currently at on recruitment?
Well, full speed ahead on recruitment. I will tell you this, this police department is not the same department, you all know that. We have 3 original members left of the Rialto Police Department from the last time that I was here and before.
Is that those 3 old guys sitting back there?
It is the 3 in the back row, sir. I actually brought them here to show them what their future was.
Maybe one.
But I just want you to know, they're very happy. So just very happy.
And they're here on behalf of the DRIVE program
Yes.
for the senior.
Exactly.
Right, that's right.
So recruitment's a challenge in law enforcement just because we are competing against a very, very small pool of candidates that are going from every department. And it's not because we're not processing quick enough. It's just because they're going to departments that they can choose to go to. I think that, we have a master plan in place. You all know that. So our recruitment strategies are, we have a number of vacancies, but we are a very young and upcoming progressive police department. And I think that you should all be really congratulatory of what you actually envisioned and what you provided us. Our goal is to try to get full as quick as we can. I think we're going to make a significant gain this coming year. And you'll see the difference just as you are with the additions of the traffic division as an example, and what we're doing here in the community to provide safety and actually decrease accidents.
And can you tell me where we're currently at with commercial enforcement?
Yes, so, you all authorized us to get 4 commercial vehicles out. We actually have 2 commercial officers out. One officer in particular has written 2,100 truck citations since 2020, when you actually approved that first position. He's made 2,100 stops, and he cites about 95% of the time. The second officer is just going to increase that just because of the issues that we're having, through the city with truck traffic. And so we're making a significant gain on commercial enforcement. We can see 2 years to 3 years down the road that we'll be probably exceeding the 4 officers that you've actually authorized us to do in that division alone.
And I know that there's been some money committed from some developers for commercial enforcement, but you don't visualize or see that money until we have C of Os on those particular projects, which I think are, at least one of them's under construction.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? If not, I have one. And it's interesting, I had the incident occur yesterday, and I noticed that one of the things you were talking about was, you have listed here some of the accomplishments under animal control. But I know we were having for a while, getting staffed up. So are we fully staffed up now? It looks like you have all your positions in animal control?
No, ma'am, we do not. That was one of the challenges when I came back here with animal control, completely revised that program under our administrative team, which is in the back. Looking at that program, we have 2 of the 4, and I think we have we have 2 good candidates in backgrounds as we speak. So, but the 2 that we have, just so you understand how this works, once we hire an animal control officer, we do not want to go back and repeat from the past. So we team up with Fontana PD, and we utilize Fontana's animal control to train our folks, and we'll send them out to about 4 months of training, so that all of our animal control officers are consistent with the training that they're receiving, and we're working really well with Fontana. So that's kind of where that program's at.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because I see that what we've, especially when it comes to the animal controls daily activities, and of course, sadly, when we have animals that are hit,
Yes.
it seems it does take some time for someone to get out there, but I see our numbers. You've had, we projected to be at 987 for the end of this fiscal year. So the question was, what else can occur? Because I don't think they operate 24/7. I think it's a certain time frame. And made a call yesterday, and of course it took a while, and it was coordinated with others. They said animal control had to come, but I think animal control wasn't on. And then is that something that officers end up having to address?
It's a great question. So again, I think the misunderstanding, not just from from the council sometimes, but it is from the entire community, is the wrong answer that we give community that calls our dispatch center. And at times we tell them that we're closed or we don't have somebody on. So the way this works is that we always have somebody on. Police officers will go out and handle an animal issue, regardless whether it's a deceased animal or an injured animal or just a vicious animal, if animal control isn't on. So we are in essence 24/7. When animal control is here, then they handle those types of calls. Unless it's a vicious animal that they can't handle, then an officer handles that also. So, when we get up to full speed with 4 animal control officers and a licensing individual, and that'll take the load off of our patrol officers. But at this point, our officers will handle those calls, but it becomes a priority issue. So if you call the police for an animal control call and animal control is not on, then it becomes a priority for our officers to handle it. If more priority type calls come in on top of that, then that call gets pushed down to the bottom of the list. So we eventually will get there. And that's sometimes what happens in the misconception. I do want council to know that you've authorized this. It's called SPIDER. It's in the middle of being implemented. It's a technology-based issue or a program, and it'll handle just what your concerns are as far as constantly updating people that call the police with text messaging that gets sent back to them, that person that calls, and tells them constantly an update. So if the call gets rerouted or it gets pushed down in the priority list, the caller will actually be informed of it immediately. So, again, we're moving towards a much more service-based and much more responsive agency. And there's a lot that goes into just that simple question about, hey, are you guys on 24/7 with an animal control officer? The answer is yes.
Okay, well, that's good to put out there publicly. Thank you, because the calls come and the community ends up seeing something, and then it's like, well,
Yes.
who's going to get it, and when is the response?
Yes.
No, I think any other, I think in just the general, for you, city manager, I would like to understand, I think, the ordinance that allows only 3 registered animals at a home, when did that come about? What made it 3 versus 2 versus 5? Because with what's going on with having a number of animals that are available for adoption and stuff, people can only, right now in our city, take supposedly 3. And I came in, it seems like that ordinance has been in place for a while. I don't know how that came about, but I would ask that maybe Henry, we understand, when was it adopted and what was the logic behind it?
And also, how many in commercial properties, and is there a schedule for commercial properties? Because a large commercial property would need more dogs if that's what they're using in terms
May
of.
need more, or,
they
but
need
then,
more.
and if they do, does our ordinance restrict their ability to
And
have it?
that's been a problem right now. I've had a few concerns with, that's the only thing that deters some of the transients from going in and stealing and vandalizing. So their restriction on, I think it's 3 for them as well. And so
Yes, I
we
think,
need to really look at that and come up with something. And if we need to revise it, then we need to revise it. It might be something old.
okay. Last is the city treasurer.
That's the city treasurer.
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, I didn't, excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. My budget shows 5 full-time employees. We're not there yet. I trust that we will be there by the end of the calendar year. And the budget basically reflects a 28% reduction, and that's as a result of cost of personnel. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. We have very little control over the standard expenses that are charged to the department. And the only other expense that I really have a control over is cost of banking, and we do everything we can to keep those at a minimum.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any questions of the city treasurer's office or activities? Okay. No? Then that's it. So,
Closing comments?
closing comments? Well, before you do the closing comments, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to talk about just the broader special events calendar, and what we have. And more in the terms of looking back, resources has grown in terms of what we allocate or estimate towards it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think perhaps we need to think about even more. We've gone from 432 to 571, and I don't know if we're gonna need to think about more. I mean, there's events coming up. We don't have them on here now. Hopefully, I'd like to put one on. I think council members, but the part that I want to understand is when we allocate the money, as we have in this column, how do we show how it's charged and utilized back in the event? That's universal, because, you know, whoever's the host, but then departments also involved, you know, it could be, it's a collection of things, and it could be internal activities, or it could be a hybrid with external groups and internal. But whatever's allocated in here, when we use it, how do we charge back to it? Does it help to capture some of the staff time involved on behalf of the group? I just haven't been, and maybe with the new system, we'll be able to be a little bit more clear on
A P&L?
a profit and loss,
Some
yes.
P&L.
You know, because vendors, when you have an event, either internal, external, external ones, they have vendors, they have a vendor fee, they collect it. Internal ones, there's even in the internal ones, we have people who become vendors on our internal ones, they pay a fee. And so where does that revenue come in? And it'll help offset the expenditures, and it may be a negative, and the consistency. So that's what I wanted to ask about. And finance, I've not seen it yet. I asked earlier for it, I think, and I didn't get anything.
I think we did email the expenses that we were able to capture in Eden, but it won't be in as much detail as what our new system can do. So for this budget, we've already made project codes for every single event, and that code can be used and attached to revenue, to salary time, and to expenses. We're just waiting at this point for the budget to get approved so we can load the budget into that project, and at a moment's notice, we can run you a statement on any event.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want to use any one of these as an example. I mean, we have some that are in partnership. Some of them, you know, we've had quite some time on our books and in collaboration with, but I just said, there's fees that are collected, even the special event fee for everybody who is going to be a vendor, and where does it go? It goes, from what I found, it goes into community development, and so then those things it's input, but then there's
It's
no
hard to pull.
reconciliation, I guess is what.
Yeah.
And after every event, we'll be able to provide that moving forward.
Yes.
You said what?
After every event, we'll be able to provide that
A
moving
recap.
forward.
Okay, so that was it. All right, now you can, closing remarks.
Pardon me, Mayor, I did not mean it in that fashion. My closing thoughts for the mayor and council members, as well as the citizens that are watching today, is that based on the conservative approach that I have portrayed and you have heard, the intent would be to take all of the notes that are being gathered tonight by the assistant to the city manager. We're going to look at those tomorrow. Our intent is to make sure we have the appropriate answers for you come the public hearing on September the 12th, should you decide to pass that budget that evening. And that will be my recommendation based on tonight's comments, is that you'll be in a good spot that has your questions and concerns addressed that tonight. We'll have them for you by the 12th. We'll have them sooner. Councilmember Scott wanted to have a breakdown in utility tax, et cetera. So we're gonna have that Monday, and then we're gonna figure out how to do the rest of those items. But at that public hearing, which you will see being scheduled to be set on the August 22nd meeting, our intent is to come back with the top 10 slides and have the attachment on the progress that you would like to see based on tonight's workshop. Now, keep in mind that some of the non-action oriented items in terms of dollars, such as when will the assessment of community development come back? We're gonna have that. When will customer service training start across the board? We're gonna have that. But then there'll be some other itemizing that you asked for. So we'll have all of those in a timeline and ready for you to go, so that you'll be in the best comfortable position come the public hearing for the budget, which will be an abbreviated version of just those slides by the finance director, unless you deem it differently. So my closing thoughts is I think we've covered a lot of ground. Your input has been exceptionally valuable. It is a common theme that I have heard individually from some of you on some of these particular topics. So I feel the time is to turn this back over to you for any closing comments on the budget this evening, expectation to approve it on the 12th.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we do have one action item. You have to pass your continuing resolution so that we have money to spend
did
until
see
you
that.
adopt the budget.
Okay, excuse me.
The motion would be to approve.
Wait, I'm just saying, but I didn't see it. Sorry.
Well, that's
Okay.
resolution 8128.
Correct. Yeah.
Motion to approve resolution 8128. Second.
All right. It's been motioned by Councilmember Scott, seconded by Councilmember Trujillo. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion carries. Now, motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Moved by Councilmember Baca and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Carrizales. Any objections? We're adjourned.